Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I
I see you
can.
there. Shabbat Shalom. I can't hear you guys though, so
You
give me
can't
a
hear
thumbs
me?
up if you hear me.
Hello?
Yay. So Alana, there'll be a couple things. I know Mikhail went over this with you, but there will be the need to just keep an eye on people that they don't accidentally unmute themselves and disturb the Zoom for everyone else. So just keeping people muted. And then the the sharing the prayer book for the Zoom folks. And there's also another task that I don't think Mikhail told you about, which Serge has spoke to Hannah about. So near the end of the service, we do a prayer for healing and a prayer for those, the Kaddish, for those who have passed and are observing a yard site for those who have passed. And we have always invited people to share the names of the people they're thinking about in the chat on those two different occasions. And it's after his sermon and everything. So Serge was hoping that you could monitor the chat because we can't see it and text him to his phone directly. If you have his number, I can share you his number. And so that he can say those names out loud because he doesn't have the computer's way at the back of the room, so we can't see the chat from here.
Okay, can you hear me
That
at
makes
all?
sense? Yeah, because he'll read off the lists that you put on the Bema for us, but people may add names into the chat of the Zoom. So that's an extra little glitch. Thank you so much. She's texting me. He doesn't.
Yeah. I got it. It's all good. You know, you're welcome to sit wherever you want. You know my routine, right? But if you want to come a little closer. Isn't that a song? Come a little closer? At any rate, that's up to you. And we have Minion in the sanctuary. Who could ask for anything better than that?
That's wonderful.
It's a auspicious start to the secular year.
Yes. Minion.
Okay.
Hey la 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 la
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We gather here in the sanctuary live. We have Minion present. And we also gather across the electronic ether as Zoom. As we Zoom together, I can see the Zoom screen in the back of the sanctuary. And I also know that we have the live stream that is following. You wave the camera. We have to wave to the camera up in the corner.
Right? No, we're live streaming from the Zoom.
Oh, are we live streaming? So we're live streaming from the little camera on top of the computer. There we go. That's right.
Good
Thank you, Cantor, for reminding us. So there we go. Yes, we are in fact. So here's what I'll say. If you're in the direct line on that camera, you may want to just move it just a little to the right or left so that your head is not getting front and center placement anytime that we're standing. That's just my 2 cents. So I'm thinking how much of worship, especially in America and modernity, and whether it is within the most traditional community or within the most liberal of communities, how much we invoke breath, right? We often talk about taking a deep breath. We talk about neshama, which is both soul and breath. And we talk about nefesh, being and breath. And so much of our worship is built around the power of breath. So that in this particular community, when we don't have that opportunity to fully breathe, to inhale and exhale, and produce the resonances that come together that make for worship and song and reading, that at least from the vantage point here on the pulpit, here on the bima, I notice very regularly what it means to have a congregation present, to hear breath, to encounter the breath of community. We say in the morning prayers, the breath of every living being gives praise to God. And when our breath is constrained, it's hard to be fully present. Certainly hard to celebrate. So we're in the midst of winter, and the days, believe it or not, if you look at your candle lighting, you will notice as we move forward through January that every Friday night the candle lighting is a few minutes later and later. The sun is lasting a little bit longer. And not this Shabbat, but next Shabbat, Tu B'Shvat, will arrive on Sunday night. And we will celebrate that turning point in the year, originally a tax day of sorts for the trees, but which celebrates the approach of spring and warmth and a relaxing and a deepening of breath. So I know it's cold outside. There's still snow on the ground. When we walked here, and we had to be careful where we put our feet and look out for the icy patches. All of that is true, but that's only for the moment. And very quickly, in the space of weeks, the world will brighten, warmth will return, our breath will expand, and we will have an opportunity to continue to come together. So that's my message, which is, as that happens and as our comfort increases, we are here in the sanctuary on Fridays being together. So know that there is always an invitation as you are comfortable and feel safe. And as long as it is safe, we are here. And I believe we will continue to be here. So that's just a little message at the beginning of worship tonight. Perhaps I'll even remember how to use the clicker and take us forward to our next slide. You can find the kindling of Shabbat lights, our last activity of the work week, right up on the wall, or if you're online, on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leharik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. One of the things that continues regularly, COVID or not COVID, is there are people who come to study and participate in Jewish life. And just this week, one of my students who's studying to become Jewish and I were looking at the candle lighting blessing and the customs. And one of the things that is remarkable in the midst of this pandemic is, you would be amazed how much material continues to be available, so that we were able to watch over Zoom a video about candle lighting together. So first we watched the URJ, the Reform Movement video for candle lighting. And in the URJ video, the rabbi, one of my colleagues, Leora Kay, when she does the version of 1, 2, 3, the covering of the eyes. But in the Chabad video we watched, and we watched lots of videos, nothing's off limits to us. In the Chabad video, in the manner more of one side of my family, the woman who's leading does this with the candles. She literally wafts the light of the candles toward her before covering her eyes. It's a different but similar manner. It made me think of the fact that when I was a rabbinic student, we often say that Sephardic Jewry historically loved law codes, big, heavy tome law codes, Maimonides, Shulchan Aruch. Ashkenazi Jews love to argue what their grandfathers and their grandmothers did. And so we came up with custom books. In this part of town, in this country, this is how we did things. And so that's one of the things you notice. There's absolutely no necessity of covering one's eyes or of making hand motions, but it's a custom. And even within that custom, there's great diversity. So are we covering our eyes? That's kind of the game I play with preschool kids. Or are we instead bringing the light of Shabbat toward us before we cover our eyes? Both are authentic, both are legitimate, both are customs amongst our people. So I thought I would mention that, and that's something that, believe it or not, we have only had the technology to be able to do that kind of study with video, shared video on screen, relatively recently. So even in the midst occasionally of that which is challenging, there are blessings. let me invite you all to turn ahead in the prayer book to page 9 or right up on the screen as we read responsively. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. And there are days when we exploit nature, as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty,
a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat together, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. L'chu neranena, right up on the board, or if you want to find it, you'll find it on page 12 in the Siddur.
L'chu neranena, l'Adonai, yeh lai 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 lai, na'ariya, ay lai 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 lai, etzur yishenu, yeh lai 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 lai, nekadma fanav betoda, betoda, bizmirot nariyana, nariyana, lechu neranena, ay 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 ay, l'Adonai, ay 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 ay, na'ariya, ay 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 ay, netzor yishenu, yeh ay 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 ay.
Psalm 96, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, sing to the eternal, sing a new song, page 13 or the lower half of the wall.
Shiru l'Adonai, shir shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, shir shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruch shemo, basru meyom leyom, Yeshuato, shiru l'Adonai, baruch shemo, basru meyom leyom, Yeshuato, shiru l'Adonai, shir shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, shir shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz.
The Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat are arranged like an introductory symphony of psalms which recreate the 6 active days of creation, leading, of course, to the 7th, the crown of creation. We take a pause in that recitation, in that symphony, in that replay, to invite Shabbat personified to enter into the sanctuary. Those who are joining on the Zoom or the live stream may not notice that we have some bands of tape across the back of the sanctuary right now to allow for the preschool to make some use of the reception room, the oneg room for classroom space, while construction, yes, construction is going on as well, very exciting and a lot of progress. So when we turn tonight to invite Shabbat to enter, it's usually we face this direction, but I'm going to invite everyone to actually face the doorway we came in by, which is this side, for Lecha Dodi, so that Shabbat doesn't have to duck under the green masking tape in the back. People are going, what green masking? Trust me, there's green masking tape. Oh, Shabbat can just walk through the tape. As you see fit. We're on pages 20 and 21.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Fifth stanza.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Rise, face our entryway of choice as we are able for the 9th stanza, and invite Shabbat to join us.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Having invited, welcomed Shabbat into the sanctuary, we're going to take a moment here in the sanctuary and also at home. Take a moment to greet one another, anyone we've been with, arrived with, showed up with the word Shabbat Shalom, and then take a moment and greet those who maybe have just joined us and next to us and wish Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, I know, I'm busy doing the thing. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Congratulations, that was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, what a pleasure. It was absolutely a pleasure.
My brother only complained that the Moyle didn't wear a GoPro and that the procedure was not on.
You know what? I have to say, right, and truthfully, would you or I want there to be a permanent video record of that floating in the ether? Right?
It all worked out well. Thank
Hey,
you.
Faith. Shabbat Shalom. How are you? Nice to see you. Holding it together. It's about the best I can do. Yeah. Oh, I know. Although Rissa had school today.
Well, no, they had school, but they canceled after. We had practice, but no games.
Right.
And now
Oh,
the
yeah.
games
Sports are all canceled.
The games are no spectators.
Blah, blah,
It's
blah.
like, guys, on the bus or off the bus? If you're not wondering-
Rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb.
You know, can I tell you?
That's the most I've socialized all week.
Huh?
It's the most I've socialized all week.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, dear friends, I know, as I say week after week, this is why it took the Israelites 40 years to get a 12-day hike through Sinai. I promise there'll be more schmooze time afterwards. We are at page 22, Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי הסול ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינוך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועליך, במעשי ידיך ארענן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
I invite you to rise in body and or spirit as you are able. Page 26, the Reader's Kaddish up on the wall.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיך ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב עמנו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתברך ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל בחטא ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו
Amen. Page 28, the call to worship.
Lay, 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 lay. Hey, lay, 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 lay. Ay, lay, 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 lay. Lay, 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 lay. Ay, lay, 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 lay. Ay, lay, 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 lay. Lay, 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 lay. Ay, lay, 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 lay. Lay, 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 lay. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
If you'd like to have a seat, we join together in the English of the creation prayer. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Amen.
Page 32, as we join with the cantor in Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, נגע יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. We join with the cantor in the chanting of Ve'ahavta 36, or right up on the wall.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 39, we read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Michamocha, page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה. מלאכותך ראו אבניך בקיים, לפני משה ומרים. זילי, זילי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי בדד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו.
גאל ישראל.
Page 42, Hashkivenu. Dan Nichols' melody. We ask that God watch over us as we lie down at night and rise to a world hopefully renewed and restored.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. לחיים, לחיים.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. The words of the Chatimah in the Hebrew at the very bottom of that same page are right up on the wall.
ברוך אתה, אתה אדוני הפורס סוכות שלום, עלינו עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו, ועל ירושלים שלום, ועל ירושלים Shalom Baruch Atah Adonai Haporeh Sukkot Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael.
Page 44, our next slide. The words of Exodus 31, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat forever as a sign for between God and the people in Israel, a symbol of God's resting on the seventh day of creation.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לא לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לא לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ברית עולם.
The words of Shema and its benedictions are recited morning and evening, but 3 times a day the words of Tefillah, the standing prayers, are recited. We rise now for that Tefillah, the Amidah, on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחייב ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We are at page 55. If it's your custom to take a seat at this time, I invite you to do so. If it's your custom to remain standing until the end of Tefillah, I invite you to do that as well. We join together in the English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Page 57. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod.
Amen.
Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth that day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shemcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot.
Amen.
Page 60, we join with the cantor in the singing of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amachai tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amachai tasim le'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. Take these moments now for our own silent prayer, meditation, and reflection, a traditional text to begin that journey on 62, some contemporary passages on 63, or whatever our own hearts now prompt. I invite you, at your ready, if you're still praying Amidah, to have a seat when you're ready.
עושה שלום Shalom bimrama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimrama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael, amen.
Once again, I want to extend a mazel tov to Ann and Mark Landman on the bris this past week of their grandson Reese. And what a pleasure it was for some of us to be able to, courtesy again, right, of the technology, to be able to be present sort of for that wonderful simcha. And what joy in watching Michael and Erin bring their son into the covenant. So a big, big mazel tov. There we go. Okay. So this week and last week, if you've been keeping up with the cycle of Torah readings, we've been reading really what is the signature event, the foundational mythos of the Jewish people. As Moses goes to Pharaoh and demands that he let my people go. The two weekly parashiot, last week's and this week's, essentially divide the 10 plagues into two sets, 5 and 5. It's the material at the heart of the perhaps more familiar Hollywood blockbuster movie with Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. The Exodus from Egypt. The Exodus from Egypt is 1/3 of the foundational tripod of Jewish thought and theology. Those legs being creation, redemption, and revelation. And they remain the essence of our Jewish morning and evening worship prayers. Arguably, the fall holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, then Passover, and then Shavuot also reflect the same focus. Creation, that's the fall holidays. Redemption, that's Passover. Revelation, that's Shavuot. Rather than being stories about gods and their deeds, like most myths are, this Jewish affirmational triptych is a series of what's technically called theophanies. It's a fancy word for divine mortal encounters. Affirmations, in fact, that God, the divine, is present around us. On Shabbat, we recall that God created the earth, the living creatures, and finally humanity, God's stewards. And then finally, of course, we know God rested. Though creation has a special resonance for the Jewish people through our particularistic observance of Shabbat, creation itself is universal and wired cosmically into the universe, at least from our point of view. That was, in fact, the idea on page 30 and 31 in the prayer book of the Ma'ariv Aravim that we read in its interpretive English. Much more particularistic to the Jewish people is the revelation prayer, which we sang with a cantor, which recalls our encounter with the divine at Sinai. Now, it's true we celebrate each Shavuot, but every day, the covenantal gift of Torah to help define the Jewish people, that event that took place there as a sign of divine love and affection, in the words of Ahavat Olam, eternal love. That was in fact acknowledged as the cantor sang on in the Hebrew on page 32 with Debbie Friedman's setting of Ahavat Olam. But tonight, my focus aligns with our current position in the Torah narrative, the redemption from Egypt, or the exodus from Egypt. Redemption, boy, that's a word we don't use much outside of synagogue. Redemption is at best a problematic translation of the Hebrew word geula. We don't really use the word redeem or redemption in modern English other than for soda can deposits, right? As a vocabulary selection, it sits someplace between the notion of rescue and save. If you're redeeming someone, you're rescuing them or you're saving them. Redemption, in fact, represents one coin side to the twin on the other, salvation. But whereas salvation sounds singular, personal, spiritual, and otherworldly, redemption is collective, nationalistic, physical, and focused in this world. Fancy word choices would yield perhaps liberation with all of its political overtones, and maybe even deliverance, which unfortunately is too close to delivery in our Amazon society. Nevertheless, it is geula, redemption, that is the touchstone narrative at the heart of the Haggadah. Quoting from Deuteronomy, "We were slaves in Egypt, and God brought us out by mighty acts." As the verb would seem to indicate, the focus of redemption is on God's rescuing us from Egypt, on God's efforts to bring us out from slavery. But it would be a mistake to not also acknowledge, as the rabbinic sages do again and again, that liberation from Egypt cannot be separated from the experience of servitude and suffering in Egypt for multiple generations. When we talk about the exodus from Egypt, we are automatically talking about the slavery in Egypt. They're not seen as distinct. It is that experience of slavery, the crucible of suffering, that transforms Jacob's descendants into our particular people and nation, which took place into our particular people and nation. Every so often the mask does just. Since our going forth from slavery, we celebrate not exactly the events of the Seder in Egypt. You know, that's where Charlton Heston's son comes into the movie, The Green Fog Outside. That's not what we're celebrating, but rather the Seder of freedom, which we still acknowledge the blessing of our freedom like free people at a table. Slaves, after all, cannot choose to enter into a covenant. Slaves cannot choose to rest. Slaves, in fact, are not free to choose anything. The old blue gates of prayer, which you know I'm still a fan, the old blue gates of prayer understood that whatever our quandaries about an ancient and miraculous God freeing our ancestors from Egypt, the deep mythic truths embodied in our freedom narrative transcend even the question of a miraculous intervening God, as we read. Once we were in bondage, then we were free. In this first liberation, our people saw revealed the power of the Most High. They perceived that this presence redeems time and event from the hand of tyrants. We too acclaim the power that makes for freedom. We sing the song that celebrates our deliverance from Egypt and from all bondage. It's a great reading from one of the numbered services in Gates of Prayer. You'll notice that the focus remains, as traditionally, on a praise and affirmation of, as this text calls it, the power that makes for redemption or freedom. Even if we are leaving the word God itself out, we aren't claiming, and this is key, we aren't claiming that we redeemed, we rescued, we liberated, we freed ourselves. No, that we touched something greater than ourselves, a power that made for our redemption and our freedom. So now I'm going to invite you, if you have your prayer book in front of you, turn back to page 39 in Mishkan Tefillah. where we read. It's in the slot, the layout of the page, right? It's the creative reading slot. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. This passage, somewhat adapted from Michael Walzer's book, Exodus and Revolution. Walzer, if you don't know him, is a political theorist and ethicist. The book is a wonderful, brief meditation on how the Exodus story has been the source and model of political revolutions down to our own day. But I have to admit, as much as this is, as you know, my go-to choice for a reading in Mishkan Tefillah most of the time, for the redemption reading, I have been troubled by the reading in part because of God's absence. Although God is often directly addressed out loud in Mishkan Tefillah, God is infrequently affirmed in the pages of our current prayer book. While I have significant issues with that lapse, I also believe that it offers us opportunities to consider our role as individuals, but especially as Jews, in connection to the traditional affirmations of encounter with the divine. Remember I talked about theophanies, human-divine encounter, creation, redemption, revelation. It is certainly not enough for us to wait for redemption, to wait, as we traditionally say, for the coming of the Messiah. In fact, this is Walzer's writing. It argues for deliverance from oppression without political messianism. Listen to the words. The third affirmation in his writing, that the way to the land is through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. It's Walzer's earlier assertions, though, that I want to close with. Here it is in the original wording, not what's in your prayer book. Walzer says, first, that wherever you live, it's probably Egypt. Second, that there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. But what if we don't agree with Walzer? That we probably live in Egypt. What if we don't think we are living in Egypt, in slavery? Many of us, though certainly not all, are blessed to live in the relative comfort and security of freedom. America is in fact our promised land, the better place to which our parents joined hands and journeyed and sacrificed so that we could arrive here. Do I ignore or dispense with this prayer reading? Do I recite and intone it with a meaning I cannot honestly profess? This is what it means to be, I think, a serious Jew, is to take the words not literally, but struggle with them seriously. Though it's taken for me years of recitation, I have engaged this particular line, as I attempt to do with every line in the prayer book, not as mere aspiration or as blind affirmation, but as a line capable of generating deeper truths and understanding only if I am willing to undertake the struggle and the effort. First, that wherever you live, it's probably Egypt. Okay. Second, that there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. And third, that the way to the land is through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. I'm pretty good with the second and third affirmation. But that notion that wherever we live is probably Egypt, I've had a struggle with. And so it finally dawned on me, not that long ago, as a Jew who celebrates my status of one liberated from ancient slavery, that perhaps, just perhaps, this modern redemption reading is hinting to me and an uncomfortable truth. What truth could that be, Serge? That in our society, here in America, I am not an Israelite. I am an Egyptian. Comfortable, proud, and free. But there are Israelites still about me in a servitude, however different it may be. And that the promised land today is not a different geographic location that others must flee to, but rather a transformation of the society in the land in which we now live. It is an achieving of that more perfect union that has yet to be established. The wilderness, then, is the mindset that allows us to see beyond our own comfort and security. And the joining together and the marching means bringing along those who today know the servitude our ancestors were liberated from so long ago. Words to consider, a challenging reading. What does it mean to be in Egypt? Shabbat Shalom. As always, I invite your reactions, insights, critiques into my words. I'm privileged to share my thoughts from the Bima. Let me invite, and I know I owe a few people, I'm just going to say this, mea culpa chatati. There are one or two people who wrote me some very thoughtful comments about some previous sermons, and I'm a little bit behind in responding because they don't involve one or two word answers. So please be patient. I promise I will get back to you. Sometimes people respond with really excellent questions that require me to think and write. So there we go. Okay. On this Shabbat, we call to mind and pray for healing, blessing for Lori Blum, Chaya Malka Bat Chaya, Helene Furman Gold, Gloria Sancho, Jenny St. George, Chava Gittel Bat Freda, Yona Chaya Bat Miriam, Ruth Bat Binyamin Bachava, Steve Brown Inns, Yona Tevia Ben Label, Vikita Henya, Renee Fishzone, Moshe Ben Leah, Nancy Lazar, Delroy Aline, Max Estroff, Heike Bat Freda, Chaim, Kim Petchek, Peggy Einhorn, Bruce Shapiro Nygren, Eleanor Shapiro Nygren, Bela Rivka, Bachmol Pesach Esther, Susan Sonkin, David Stephen Cohen, Peter Hort, Donald Pearlstein, Ken Coleman Cohen, Christy Frank, Sally Sorbello, and Nick Boyer. If you have other names you wish to share aloud for blessing and healing, whether it's something minor, modest, or major, I invite you to share those names as my hand comes across the congregation. And I invite those who are watching on the Zoom, if you want to put those names out there as well. I don't have it up here to share aloud, but still, I think important. Likewise, if you want to share those names aloud over the live stream at this moment, I invite you to take a moment to share those names in prayer aloud for the next few seconds. We join together on page 253 or right up on the wall.
Mi shebeirach avoteinu mekol haberachai le'imateinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach Beiteinu Makul Haberaha De'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Cain, Yehiratson, may it be God's will. We join in blessings and prayers for our nation and for the state of Israel, page 258 and 259. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance, and may they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country sound in body and spirit. Amen. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Grant them deliverance and adorn them in a mantle of victory. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We turn to our concluding prayers. Aleinu, on page 283. Before I invite those who wish to rise in body and or spirit, I do want to say that we are in the midst of Shabbat. We announced that aloud over Zoom a bit ago. So we're in the midst of the month of Shabbat. That's the 11th month. And so 2 B'Shvat, or properly Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, 2 is just an abbreviation for 9 and 6. Tet, Vav. Tet is 9, Vav is 6. That's 15. You don't do Yud and Hey for obvious reasons. It's God's name. So the 15th day of Shvat, it's the full moon, in which we celebrate the produce of the land of Israel. That'll be next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday evening and Monday. In fact, our preschool has a little Tu B'Shvat concert on Monday. That's also Dr. King's birthday Monday. But I want to remind you, we're in the midst of the flow of the cycle. This year is a leap year, and so normally about a month after Tu B'Shvat is Purim, but not this year. That's because instead of 12 months, we have 13 months. So that way we keep our calendar honest with the seasons. Otherwise, like the Islamic calendar, our holidays would just keep falling back 11 days, 11 days, 11 days. So this is a year where we push forward, which means that the fall holidays will be later in the fall. And you can always tell this by looking at the distance from Tu B'Shvat to Purim. So 2 months this year, which means we'll have Adar 1 and Adar 2. So months 12 and 13. And if you're totally lost at what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It just means you have longer to get ready for Passover. Okay, page 283, or right on the wall as we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei g'dula li'oseh b'reshit, shehu sam chalkenu liyached et shemo, v'gar aleinu להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים
ומשתחווים ומודים
לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, עמד מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
I'll ask you to remain standing. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with the people that we've loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that continue to guide us. We call to mind these passings in our congregational community in the Shloshim in the last month, in the 30 days. Gail Dincher, recalled by Jeff Dincher. Lloyd Weinreb, recalled by Lizzie Fishman. Should share the relationships. Gail Dincher, the mother of Jeff Dincher. Lloyd Weinreb, the father of Lizzie Fishman. Elizabeth Dintz, the mother of David Dintz. Leo Leibowitz, the grandfather of Alicia Zimmerman. And just recently, the passing of Paley Goldman, the sister of Jessica Wiener. Also share these names of those whose passing falls as yahrzeit at this time of year. Charles Shoyak is recalled by Sandra Roth. Maureen Tremblay is recalled by Pat Rosenblum. Albert Fireman is recalled by Susan Leopold. Jean Rose Kozlov is recalled by our community. Philip Damashek is recalled by Harris Damashek. Louis L. Shapiro is recalled by the congregational community. Beatrice Perlman is recalled by Renee Fishzone. Sylvia Rapchick is recalled by Linda Rapchick. Elaine Quint Rose is recalled by Judith Fishman. David Katowitz is recalled by Miriam Katowitz. Alice Habenstreit is recalled by Abraham Habenstreit. Herbert Neidenberg is recalled by Paul Neidenberg. Dora Dernfeld is recalled by Eileen Dernfeld. Frida Rahn is recalled by Rena Cohn-Schwartz. Annette Jett is recalled by Michelle Newman. Nathan Jaffe is recalled by Randy Jaffe. Zelda Heffer is recalled by Stephen Locke. Gitta Elul is recalled by Batya Elul. Robert Tremblay is recalled by Pat Rosenblum. Hans Shapire is recalled by Benjamin Shack. Jenny Lazar is recalled by Nancy Lazar. Elise Mass is recalled by Marjorie Coleman. Albert Miller is recalled by the community. Raymond Poland is recalled by Benjamin Poland. Ann Mattis is recalled by Grace Vogel. Gertrude Klein is recalled by Deborah Perlman. Gertrude Turner is recalled by the congregational community. Sean Cleary is recalled by Ryan Cleary. Eugene Herkin is recalled by Jean and Alan Herkin Torres, Ruth Adam, and by our entire congregational community. Ray Weber is recalled by BHS community, and Lothar Stiefel is recalled by Karen Stiefel. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may their memories be for blessing. If I have inadvertently mispronounced any of these names, or if I have failed to share aloud the name of a loved one who you are recalling at this time, I invite you to share aloud those names as my hand comes across the congregation, as well as share them on the chat and as well on the live stream. We join together in sanctifying their names and memories, even as we sanctify God's name, and pray for the coming of God's realm. The words of sanctification of the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294, or right up on the wall. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ביעמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון, חיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. May the source of peace on high cause peace to descend upon us, all Israel, our entire world, and let us say, Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated, everyone. It's my pleasure to call upon the president of our congregation, Marcia Bellows, to share this Shabbat Eve's announcements with us.
Are we doing Zoom next week for MLK?
We're live here Friday night,
Live
just
here.
as we always
With
are.
Adrian.
Yep, hopefully
Okay.
with Adrian.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to thank Ann Landman, who was our greeter tonight. Thank you, Ann, for your help. Thank you, Rabbi Lip and Cantor Elliott and Miriam for the lovely service. We have some announcements. We have tomorrow morning at 9:30, Havara, led by Rabbi Sue Oren. Social justice, the MLK weekend is next weekend. We'll be live here on Friday evening with Rabbi Lip and hopefully Pastor Adrian from First Presbyterian Church. Also, over MLK weekend on Saturday, January 15th at 3 p.m., the Social Justice Committee is holding a viewing of a 30-minute documentary on the Tulsa Race Massacre, which is going to be followed by a discussion with our neighbors from First Presbyterian Church. Please RSVP, and participants will receive the Zoom link. Also, the BHS gift shop is in progress. If you're interested, call Rita Schwartz. On January 14th, we have a COVID booster clinic. COVID-19 vaccine booster doses will be administered, sponsorship by the BHS preschool. Again, that's January 14th. We have some membership engagement opportunities on Thursday, February 3rd. Our past president, Karen Gordon, is holding a discussion on her recently published book, The Last Letter: A Father's Struggle, a Daughter's Quest, and the Long Shadow of the Holocaust. She will be holding a discussion moderated by Nelson Tebby, who is a professor at Cornell Law and has a PhD in anthropology and sociology of religion. We also have the Israeli Movie Watch Group. The next meeting is January 21st. They will be viewing a movie called Ajami. Then the book group is meeting January 11th on Zoom, discussing the book After the Fire by Lauren Belfer. We also have the men's group on January 23rd at 10:30. If you're interested, contact Jeff Gold. Another lifelong learning offering is the Exodus story as a living document. There's 2 more sessions, January 16th and January 30th. We also have Cantor Ayelet's class on Jews, jazz, and Jewish jazz. It's January 18th, and then February 1st and 15th, 7 to 8:30 on Tuesdays. Then we have the preschool auction and gala or annual benefit carnival, which is going to be held on March 10th at the Jane's Carousel in Dumbo. And that's all there is for announcements. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Marcia. Karen Brody, I can see you have your hand up there.
Just one correction. This Sunday, not this Sunday at 9 a.m., we will be continuing the full session with Living Torah. We'll be talking about Miriam and Israel. We have not been in school.
So for those on the live stream, so you can hear, this Sunday, there is another session of Living Torah on Exodus facilitated by Karen Brody and our rabbinic intern, Hilly Slackman. You don't have to have come before, and you can find that information. I also want to say hello to all the people on the live stream and the Zoom. I had a wonderful note from one of our regular live streamers who said that she's studying to become Jewish and working with a different colleague, but she's been joining our community and is interested in membership. And I said, it's wonderful. We want to get to know you. So sometimes when we're in the sanctuary, we fail to notice all the seats that are filled up by the people who are actually out there in live stream land and Zoom land. So we count on those who join us on Zoom and live stream as well as those who come into the physical sanctuary as they're able and comfortable. Just a reminder, I saw one of the things, even with masks, I can watch eyes and eyebrows go up. We are having live services next Friday night. We're having live services every Friday night until at least the governor or the mayor says differently. But we will not have the joint choirs that we are accustomed to on MLK weekend. It's just not considered safe at this point. The cantor will be doing some special music for MLK, and we have one or two of the musicians and singers from First Presbyterian who will be doing a small selection. So certainly everyone's welcome here next Friday, but it won't be the sort of usual thing that we have become accustomed to. We very much hope that that's something we will return to at least by next year, if not sooner. So please do be involved. As I had a letter that went out today, maybe you noticed it, saying that we are on Friday nights and we're live, and you can get Zoom, and if you're not getting the notice, contact the office. and that adult education continues on Zoom. And Chavurah, which we had hoped to have a hybrid setup, we're planning on that hybrid, but it's probably going to have to wait till they can train us in how to use the Zoom room technology, which is now going to be probably another month still. So, and if you didn't get a letter from me today, call the office on Monday and find out why, because if you're a member of the synagogue, you should have received a note from me today with a little update on all of that. So, with that in mind, we're going to turn to Adon Olam, I believe, right? Which you can find in the back on page 300 and, 321, or right up on the wall.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ואין נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד אין שני לעם שלו להכבירה בלי ראשי בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ליצרם והוא נשי ומנוסי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו הפקיד רוחי תישן ואבי העירה ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא אדוני לי ולא יירא.
You can turn back, if you like, in your prayer book to pages 4 and 5, or right up on the wall as we join together in Kiddush.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מקום מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מקום מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו. בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון, הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
And finally, that's a 2023 to be sure. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei avon bon appetit, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, my pleasure to do something. You know, it's nice to. I thought he was a character.
He was just.
I thought he was a character. It was very nice. It was all. Any way I can be helpful, just let me know. Good. Yeah, let me know if I can help with any of that. My household is healthy, kind of her, but that's more than I can say for everyone here.
I guess that's what the level was. Well, the year before, we gave 1,000 for some reason, and then we gave 25 for the event, so. And then what did you want to give for that Brooklyn Community Foundation, all in Brooklyn?
5,000.
5,000.
That's the amount you have to give.
Okay.